I'm going to walk you through this, and then, as best you can, if you know the answers, you might pencil them out a little bit. We'll just sort of leave you with that. And then this is also a great tool, by the way. At some point in your process with people, great tool for you to sit down as their financial advisor, their financial coach, their wealth building coach, their freedom coach, and say, hey, let's take a look at the train, and let's take a look at you on the tracks, and see if we have a problem. So the first question in your assessment here is, to what age do you expect to live? Now here's a place that people are in denial. In this country, in the United States, which we're like number 57 in the world or something like that in longevity. Most people in this country think, we've got great health care here, people live a long time, we're lousy at that compared to a lot of countries around the world. But it is still something we actually will want to think about. If you're like 50 years old or younger, I guess you don't have to raise your hand, but you know what? You got a really good shot at living to be over 100. You got a really good shot. One reason alone is, whatever may end up killing you at 80 or 90, by the time you get it, we'd have figured out how to get rid of it. We're going to have some pill or some laser surgery to cut it out of your body. It wasn't more than just 200 years ago. The average life expectancy in this country was 40 years old. Now it's like 78. And we're going to keep coming up with all these drugs and all this stuff, and we're going to live longer. We're also going to live longer because we're an enlightened society, aren't we? We're the Renaissance people, right? How many of you chain smoke cigarettes? Well, I guess you didn't have to raise your hand. Didn't really expect anybody to, but How many of you used to? Look around. Wow, that's even a small percentage. Which means this is probably a pretty young crowd. How many of your parents smoke? Raise your hand and look around. Look around, look around. I guess you don't have to raise your hand about this one, but how many of you every night when you get home make sure you have, 2 or 3 pops, a little cocktail for mommy and daddy after a long day at the office? A couple of bourbons straight up, a little vodka, a little olive, a couple of those after a long hard day at work. How many of you do that? Not too many. Okay, a few. How many of our parents did it? How many of our parents drank, like a fifth of vodka by midnight every night? There you go. Children of alcoholics. The point is, you're going to live longer. You know what? If you're over 50, I think you got a great shot. Unless you got bad genes, you probably got a great shot at living to be 85, 90 years old. If you're under 50, you better plan on living to 100. So fill in your first answer there. How long are you going to live? I know you don't know. Just make it up. And number 2, what age do you want to be able to retire? Just able. Then great. Then you're kind of from a financial planning standpoint, unless you got your network marketing thing really cranking, you're in the classical financial planning terminology, you are what's called screwed. You don't have enough time. So, it'll help you fill this out if you kind of take your network marketing residual income out of the equation, because when we get done with this, you're going to see what a smart move you all made by being in network marketing. So just put that number in there, that age. When do you want to be able to? I don't mean that you would, but when do you want to be able to? 2 things happen in life. We either get to a point where we choose, we want to do something else with our time and energy. We want to retire, which maybe we go do something else. Or sometimes things happen in life where we're just forced to. Maybe it's something physical, maybe it's something in our family that's physical, like somebody else is ill. So we got to put all our time and attention on them. When do you want to be in a position to be free? How old will you be? Number 3. So, number 3 is just an equation between 1 and 2. How many years then do you need to finance in retirement? So, we'll just add those 2 up, or 1 minus 2, or however that works. Got that? Number 4, how much annual income do you want in retirement? This is a real simple form. I'm not taking into account a lot of, the appreciation of all your assets and all that kind of stuff. Just how much money do you want in income? Just put it down per month. How much money do you want to have a month? Now, if you're talking to somebody who's not in our business, one of the things you might ask them is, do you when you have all the time in the world to travel everywhere and do everything you ever wanted to do you want less money than you have now? Or more? Doesn't it actually make sense that in retirement we would want way more money than we have now? Yet the paradigm for the working stiffs is you work for 40 years and then you retire on 1/2 of what was never enough even for 40 years. So people just basically sit around and play cribbage and then die. Because they don't have any money to do anything. Number 5, multiply your income needs by between 200 and 400. So if you want to make $20,000 a month, just multiply that by somewhere between 200 and 400. That'll tell you how much money you need to have in liquid assets in order to generate that kind of income. 10 grand a month, you got to have at least $2 million. At least in liquid assets. So number 6, I want to cover your paper, don't let your neighbors see this. What's the total of your net worth now, less your primary residence? Can't use your primary residence in your net worth unless in retirement you're going to live in a cardboard box. Can't use it. All that net worth you got in your primary residence, that's nice, makes you feel good. Doesn't help you at all in financial freedom unless you're going to live somewhere else that's free. So what's your net worth? You want 10 grand a month for retirement? Better be at least $2 million. Well, number 7 does take an inflation factor in for your assets. How nice of me. How much money, number 8, how much money do you need to save and accumulate? Line 5 minus line 7. How many months until you want to be able to retire? Number 10 is the most important line. How much money do you need to save every month between now and then to end up with that $2 million or that $3 million or that $5 million? Now, if you take your network marketing income out of this equation, you know what it ends up being for most people? $2,000 to $5,000 a month for the rest of their life. Just to hit their mark, they've got to save $2,000 to $5,000 a month. People are in total denial about how they're going to live their golden years, how they're going to afford their health care, how they're going to afford all the taxes that we burden on ourselves, how they're going to afford to have any fun and adventure. They're in total denial about it. And they don't have the money to put away in real estate or liquid investments so that 10, 15, 20 years from now, they will have $2 or $3 million. They don't have it even if they quit spending it. They're just overburdened. The people that make $100,000 a year, if they got a house and 2 cars and a couple of kids, they're broke, right? So what's going on in our economy today with most people is people are getting by for the most part. A lot of people just keep going in debt. So the people who aren't even going in debt, they're just getting by. They're not prepared for the future. So once you get this answer of $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 a month you got to save for the next 10 years so you can have financial freedom, simple question you might want to ask yourself, more importantly ask the people that you're working with, is what do you think is easier? Saving that $2,000 or $3,000 a month for the next 10 years, like totally sacrificing everything fun for the next 10 years and making nothing but wise investments, or just building a network marketing income that'll pay you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month for the rest of your life. What do you think is easier? This is easier. The next thing I gave you is a little CD. It's totally generic. It's called the 4-Year Career Plan. It's just about how network marketing, wealth building, residual income works. I know some of you have been using it. If you have used it, would you just, like, those people didn't count. Okay. 4, 5, 6. Okay. Well, give it a listen. Just give it a one listen. It might help you. It helped me a lot. I know it's me presenting, but it helped me a lot. Understand this and be able to explain it in a way that people get it. And it just made a huge difference for me. It's one thing to like draw all the circles and say, hey, you can make a lot of money doing this. It's another thing to tell the stories. The stories are really, really valuable. And if you got any left-brain people, like I'm a little bit, you got any engineers, some people want to see the whole thing dissected, really understand how it works, helps them believe in it. That's the 4-year career plan. That's section 1. Section 2, I'm going to tell you very briefly my story, and then I'm going to show you a 3-minute film clip that has a precious point. Don't you just love kitty pictures? That's being my sister. I grew up on a cattle ranch in Central California. The significance of that is my nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. So I didn't have a lot of social interaction as a kid, and like Warren and like Randy, I grew up shy, quite introverted. Went to work at a chicken factory. Made $3 an hour working at Foster Farms' chicken factory in Central California. I never made any money in the chicken factory, but the fact that I worked in the chicken factory made me millions. Made for a good story, as I'll show you further later. So this is what I did. I don't know if you've ever been in a chicken factory, but these are the chickens. In this picture here, they're actually still got their feathers on them, but they are missing their elephant and their ant. Makes them at least a little easier to work with when they're asleep. None of this hurts, by the way, at all for them. It's all very nice. So I don't know if you can see this very closely, but these things here are what we call shackles. These are steel hooks that are on this conveyor chain up here. And these hooks look like this. They got one steel rod, and then they go like this. They look like a fish hook. And what you do at the chicken plant is you grab these chickens and you hang them upside down by their ankles. So it's actually their ankle that gets hooked in that hook so they don't fall out of the shackle. So there's people in there that are just hanging those chickens on those shackles, and they go through this great big conveyor that's an endless loop. And it could be like the entire size of this room. So over there in that corner, they're hanging the chickens by their ankles, and they just start going around the room. And so over here, the conveyor goes, and the first thing they go through is the thing that takes care of the elephant and the ant. And then the next thing they do is get rid of all the feathers. And then they'll come by a group of us right here. Like if this was the production line, this thing would be going like by all of us, and then go back around. It's an endless loop. And by the time it got back to the beginning, there's nothing left on the shackle. Because our job, standing here as chicken cutters, is these chickens come by us, and our job is to cut the various parts of them off. Non-stop. 530 minutes a day, actually. You're a chicken cutter, that's how things work. That's a 9.5-hour overtime day. 450 if it's an 8-hour day, but 930 minutes a day, or 530 minutes a day. This is what I did for 4 years. And I'm going to demonstrate wing cutting. I haven't done it in 34 years, but I could do it blindfolded drunk. I actually didn't wear a Rolex when I was... I didn't inhibit me. So the birds come, they're upside down, they're all plucked. And they're kind of hanging like this, you know? They got their wings are like that. So what you do with these two fingers right here is you come like grab that wing and you pull it down and kind of pull that joint apart. It'd be like kind of pulling your shoulder apart. So you kind of pull that wing down like this, and you got a knife in this hand, And it's not like cutting, it's more like stabbing. You don't have time to cut. It's like you pull the wing down and you just stab it. Then you drop the wing in this tray, and it goes down that little yellow tray. There's some lady down there, and she's packing those in the little yellow plastic tray, right? You've all bought those? I don't know. Nobody, no, not anymore? Well, wait till I get done. You'll never eat chicken. I got scars. So this is what it looks like. Now, if you want to like follow along yourself, just to get a sense of it, you can, or you can sort of imagine it. So it's like this. So, like, cut that wing right there. Just cut it. Then, of course, the birds are going like this. They're all this is like a conveyor belt. It's a production line. Okay. Like, if this thing ever stops, sirens go off in the plants. Why? If the line stops, productivity goes down. The line runs at 38 BPM. So, birds per minute. You guys have never made it into chicken. Just like this. And these birds are going by like this. Now you gotta hit the joint. I mean, I'm pulling the wing down. This is what you do. You gotta hit the joint every time, because if you miss, and you just like crush it through the bone, what happens to your knife? So this is. I don't know what. So even if you never hit the bone, I mean, within about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, your knife starts to get dull. Now you got a steel. You know what that is? That's the thing that you sharpen. It's like right here in front of you. But that takes like 10 or 15, 20 seconds to sharpen a knife, right? So in order to sharpen your knife, you gotta like, there's somebody standing right here, they're cutting the other way. So you gotta like lean into them. And then you grab your steel and sharpen your knife. Birds are going by. Now, the guy that got me the job at the chicken plant, some of you know him, he just passed away this last August, was actually my sponsor in network marketing. His name is Steve Spalding. Well, he and I both smoked, chain smoked actually, and if we got the chance to. We got so good at cutting chickens that we could create bathroom breaks. Boss, amigo, emergencia, lavando, para favor, we were probably the only two English-speaking guys in the chicken plant. We got so good at it, we could cut both sides. This is me giving Spalding a smoke break. Try that for 530 minutes a day. And what I want you to imagine, after 530 minutes a day, hardly anybody speaks English. I'm doing that in a chicken plant for 4 years. I got started in 1977. I went to 3 weeks worth of meetings right from the plant. By the way, when you're cutting chickens that fast for 9.5 hours a day, chicken fat and guts and pieces of meat and everything, they fly all over the place. By the end of the day, you got that stuff stuck to all of your clothes. Now, I didn't wear an apron, which caught a lot of it, but still all of your pants, it's everywhere. Rubber boots. For 3 weeks in a row, I went to my company's opportunity meetings. They had meetings every night of the week in my hometown. For 3 weeks in a row, in my rubber boots, with chicken fat stuck to me, smelling like cigarettes and chickens, in my 68 two-tone Ford pickup, blue and rust, and sat in a meeting like this, presented by some guy who pulled up in a Porsche Turbo Carrera, telling me I could earn $60,000 a year part-time, telling him, prove it. I was a heavy-duty skeptic. Startup costs in that company, these are the old Wild Wild West days, $10,000. That's about what I earned in a year in the chicken plant. First year I sponsored 20 or so people, friends, co-workers. I was full-time, by the way, within a month or two because the chicken plant fired me for prospecting everybody in the chicken plant. Right in here. Personally sponsored my best friend, Bill Lane. He quit right away. I'd buy back all his product. I like to put Bill Lane in there because he's still one of my very close friends. I see him 4 or 5 times a year. And at least once a year, I remind him that he quit. I don't like getting grief about it. Anyway, we sponsored, he quit, but not before we sponsored Rick Spears. Built a pretty good group of 20-something-year-olds under Rick Spears. First year, I made $12,000. Second year, I moved to Tucson, Arizona. This is a little piece of trivia here. I moved to Tucson, Arizona because the guy running Tucson for the company I was with quit and started his own company, and they needed somebody that was full-time to like move into the area and build in the area because he was ripping off all the distributors of this company. His name was Carl Jensen. Anybody know that name? Probably not. He's the founder of Forever Living Products, which does about $2.5 billion a year out of about 100 countries worldwide. He doesn't own it anymore, but he did found it. Second year, I made about $12,000. Third year, company went out of business. Everybody quit. Everybody started selling the same product, but I didn't have a car anymore, and I didn't have any place to live. And I didn't have any credit. I burned through all my credit. So I lived on my sister's couch in El Paso, Texas. She was a flight attendant. She would fly 3 days a week. So when she would fly, I would take her to the airport, and then I would go put about 1,000 miles on her car while she was gone for 3 days. By the time she got home, I was like laying on the couch, and she said, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I just got back working, and then I just kicked back for 3 days, looking at all her flight attendant friends, and this was actually, the point of this presentation is a distinction I want to call chicken or champion. Kind of makes sense for my story, right? First company went out of business, everybody quit, I had a decision to make, right? I had a decision to make. Some of them are big and really apparent. Like some of them are like the 800-pound gorilla in the room. You know, hey what, you just got to make a decision here because it's like yin or yang, A or B, take your pick, in or out, forward or back, chicken plant or, you know, Porsche, kind of like that. Some are big, some are insidious that you don't even know in the moment. All right, chicken or champion decision. Here's something for your notes. Everything we think, everything we say, everything we do matters. It matters a great deal more oftentimes than we realize in the moment. I'll point out a couple of examples. This was a real easy time for me to quit. Now, some people sometimes ask me, well, you know, why did you quit? And I'd like to give them a big noble offer, this big vision. I was going to live on the beach. I was going to, have all these cars, big mansion. You know, I got to look at my vision forward. That's why I didn't quit. I was motivated. It was every cell of my body. I mean, I was a visionary. Quit? Quit. That's not even I can't spell quit. That's not why I quit. I only quit for 2 reasons. I couldn't stand the thought of going back to the chicken plant and telling all those people that I didn't make it. I couldn't stand even worse the thought of Steve Spalding, my sponsor, who was a high school buddy, and Dave Austin, his sponsor, who was a high school buddy, And Dan Austin, his brother, who was a high school buddy, and Jim Acker, another high school buddy. There's actually 5 of us, 22 years old, all went to school together, got started together. I couldn't stand the thought of any of them making it, and me not. That was my motive. So I went at it again. Started with a new company, moved to El Paso. That year, I made $4,000. There's a couple of meetings I took Greyhound buses to. Sometimes in your career, those of you that make it, you know, I'm not advocating at all, like loaning people money and helping them out. I'm just pointing out significant things that if they had to happen, would have changed big things. Somewhere in that 3rd year, the year I made $4,000 and I was living on my sister's couch, and I took Greyhound buses to a meeting. One of the meetings I took a Greyhound bus to that I hosted, it was my meeting in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The president of the company was the guest speaker. And I took a Greyhound bus to the meeting. I didn't tell him about that, but he figured it out, he found out about it, and he loaned me a car. You know what? If he hadn't loaned me that car in 1978, I don't think I'd be here. I don't think the Greyhound bus routine would have worked. In fact, I know it wouldn't work because they ended up moving to Des Moines, Iowa. Sponsored another 20 or so people, and then a retail customer called me. Said, I'd like some more of that product. We're selling gasoline at it. Chicken or champion decision. Chicken or champion time. If I hadn't have made this decision in the moment, it wasn't that significant. But he wanted more products. And he was 3 hours away through an ice storm. He lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I was living in Des Moines, Iowa with a borrowed car in a studio apartment with a folding chair and a card table. I wouldn't have had a bed, except it came with a bed. One that pulled out of the wall. He wanted more product. 3 hours away, I'm thinking, you know what, how many times have I driven 3 hours to even try to prospect somebody or sign them up or something? It's just a waste. Ice storm in Iowa. You can drive down the road in Iowa at 70 miles an hour and just punch the accelerator and spin the tires in an ice storm. I went. If I hadn't gone, I wouldn't have been here. Village Inn, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, met Jerry Shaw. He ran a telephone company in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Educated guy, had plenty of money. What he really had, though, was a lot of ambition. Chicken or champion time. Elephant or I was going to say flea, but what did you say? Yeah. I haven't read that book. Jerry Shaw, halfway through lunch, he says, is there any money in this? Chicken or champion time. I didn't even hesitate. It was all elephant. You know what I told him? $4,000 I made that year. You know what I told him? It'll blow your mind. Money? Are you kidding? This thing rains money. You want to see? Yellow pad, circles, distinction, unreasonable requests. Write that down. Unreasonable requests. Sometimes a chicken or champion decision is just you deciding, you know what? I'm either going to play full out or I'm going to play safe. I'm either going to run scared or I'm going to swing for the fences. Sometimes that's a chicken or champion decision, and sometimes chicken or champion decisions are just unreasonable requests. You and I get all kinds of opportunities to make unreasonable requests of ourselves, unreasonable requests of our people. I would not be here today if the leaders that mentored me did not make unreasonable requests after unreasonable requests of me. Art Wade made one of you today. Unreasonable request. Buy 10 tickets. That's not easy for anybody to get up here and tell you, you know what, invest $1,000, $2,000 for the next year so that maybe you'll have 10 people here. It's not easy to make that kind of request. It takes guts to do that. It takes courage. takes motivation, takes a big elephant in the room. But making that request, some of you will cowboy up, some of you will cowgirl up, and you'll do it, and it'll make a huge difference. Because come next year, you're going to be thinking about this actually all year. And come like next September, you're really going to be thinking about it. And you'll have 10 people here, you've got to haul them here in a bus. Why? Because you made a commitment. Unreasonable requests. So, yeah. Back up. Right here. Jerry Shaw says in this meeting, this is on a Thursday afternoon in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, middle of winter, ice storm. Jerry Shaw, after seeing all the circles, says, what do I do next? And in a moment, I'm sitting there, and I know all of you have done this. In a moment, in just a nanosecond, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I could, or I could. I need to eat. I need to find it. Felt like 10 minutes. It actually only happened in like a nanosecond. I said, you need to be in Kansas City Saturday. And this was the hardest, but it came out seamless. Why? I was ready. You need to be in Kansas City Saturday with people. Tell you how easy it would have been just to say, well, let's get your kid and, you know, study this and, you know, don't worry about the meeting that's coming up Saturday. That's like 7 hours away from the ice storm. That's only 48 hours away, and you don't want to worry about that. Or it would have been so easy to be like, you know what, you just need to come to this meeting. It would have been so easy. Unreasonable request. I stepped up. Well, I was on autopilot to step up. Said, you need to be there Saturday with me. We had 2 people at the meeting. Jerry Shaw had 30 people at his house the next Thursday night. Jerry Shaw, one guy, made me $100,000 in the next year. By the way, that's 1979 income. And I realized, well, I'm an old war horse, and God, I brought a guy up to the front of the room at a vision workshop last week in Vegas. I was like, you know, doing some work with him in front of the room. He gets up in front of the room and he says, all right, Grandpa, tell me how this works. You know what? It never ever occurred to me as a 22-year-old like rock star in this business that I would ever be referred to by my colleagues as, you know, the old guy from the sea, or some guys call me Grandpa. You know, 25, 35 years, it just goes by just like that, especially if you're totally immersed in what you're doing. And you need to prepare for that other side. Anyway, the reason I was going to say that, this is in 1979. I want to make a couple of points about 1979. I want to tell you some things that were not available for building an organization in 1975. There was no such thing as a thing called internet. Nobody had even probably imagined it. There was not email, there was not cell phones. There were not even fax machines in 1975 at the consumer level. None of that. There wasn't even UPS in 1979. All products came by common carrier freight. A truck came with a big trailer. Do you think you could have ordered 4 bottles of anything? No, you ordered a pallet when you ordered products. And the truck came and you unloaded it with all of your distributors. You know what else wasn't available in 1979? Is credit cards by phone. Nobody could order product with a credit card. You didn't call a company and order product. You could call a company and ask questions, but you couldn't order product because nobody took credit cards by phone. Companies didn't even take personal checks by phone. I built my entire organization with every order, cashier's check only. You want to order a product? Go to the bank, get a cashier's check. Send it in the mail to the company. Why? No such thing as FedEx in 1979. International sponsoring? No such thing. We didn't even have national sponsoring. Oh, you laugh. But how many of you know exactly what I'm talking about? Until about 1985, how a company opened the United States of America was one state at a time. You got approval state by state for your compensation plan and your company. One state, maybe two states at a time. Never did you open the entire country at once. Never happened in a new company. 1979 income, I don't know what that's worth today, but that's not the significant part. This is the exciting part. And I know some of you have experienced this, but all of you will, is, you know what? Once you knock one out of the park, how many of you have experienced this? Once you knock one out of the park, and then you get your first day, somebody underneath you really explodes, your business takes off, and then you just find yourself doing it again, you have this epiphany. You look back on all of that struggle, all of that time, and you say to yourself, my God, it is not that hard. It is not. We make it hard, but it's not that hard. This is my organizational story. That's where it peaked, 30,000 people, 2 million a month, in about 1981. These are some of my original high school buddies. My first $30,000 check, I took all of my leaders on a 3-day cruise. Blew the whole check on all my leaders in it. That was my biggest organizational meeting, 2,000 people, gave away 7 Cadillacs. We did it really stupid back then. We actually gave them the car. Keys and everything, title and everything. Why? Because we just knew they'd be with us forever. All right, I want to skip through. Oh, here's one of the things I want to reflect back on what Warren said. In 1983, I was working with a lady in Medina, Ohio called Mary Niedenthal, local leader. And we had kind of an off day, and she says, hey, I love amusement parks. Do you love amusement parks? I said, sure. So we went to some amusement park somewhere, I don't know, north of Medina, Ohio. And they had something that just blew my mind. They had one of these booths you could step into, and for like 30 bucks, they'd take your picture, and then they'd plaster it on the cover of one of these magazines. So I'm thinking, this is the most phenomenal vision tool I've ever seen in my life. So I jumped right on it. I said, set me up. I want to be on Forbes, Fortune, and Success magazine. I had all 3 of them taken. Success, because that's what all of us read. That was like the preeminent magazine in the entrepreneurial network marketing world. And I took that picture in 1983. I kept it on my credenza in my office or wherever. And in that second company failed too, eventually. I joined Octadirect. And this is March 1992. Most of you are too young in business to even remember this. This is Success magazine before you could put yourself on the cover of it. That actually manifested, and I never did a thing to make it happen. It just manifested. So, there are all kinds of events in that, I don't know, 8, 10, 15-year story. All kinds of opportunities. Probably the most pivotal one was when Jerry Shaw asked me, is there any money in this? And then he asked me, what should I do next? Right then, if I wasn't ready, if I wasn't inspired, if it wasn't coming from the heart, if I had said, oh, it'll blow your mind, he'd have got it that was BS, wouldn't it? Now, it was BS from a practical standpoint, but when he asked me, is there any money in this? You know what where the answer came from was every cell in my body believed there was big money in this. And it believed that there was big money in it because I knew people that made big money in it. My upline made big money in it. My sideline made big money in it. I've been studying people in the industry that made big money in it. It was an automatic, unconscious, totally convicted, totally authentic, although it wasn't true from a rational standpoint for me, response. He didn't ask me how much money I made. He said, is there any money in this? And I told him it'd blow his mind. And that was the defining moment in my career. And you will have defining moments in your career that will make an enormous difference. Chills went down my spine. He actually said it last year, but I forgot it. Yesterday when Jordan Adler was talking about a guy named Russ the Man told him something that was a defining moment in his career. Remember that? Russ the Man told him that if he just talked to 20 or sponsored 20 people, he'd get one like leader in the business or something like that. Remember that when he was showing his chart? A guy named Russ the Man. I don't even know how Jordan knows Russ the Man or what the connection was, but Russ the Man was 2 levels below Jerry Shaw. Guess who told Russ the Man that if he personally sponsored 20 people, one of them, at least one of them, would be an ace? Everything you do matters. Big ripple effect here. I want to show you a film clip that epitomizes where you need to be to make this happen. There's a lot of phenomenal training and techniques here, and I got to tell you, my own 2 cents is it is all about you training the powerful part of you to believe, to fully expect, to totally embody the truth as you want it to be. Not the conscious mind. All it's going to do for the rest of your life is chatter away at you. You train it really good. You can get it in alignment with your subconscious. But you can do extraordinary things in the meantime just by training the powerful part of you. Our conscious mind is really just good for going to school and memorizing the answers to all the tests and getting a good job and keep from getting fired. Our conscious mind, nobody's conscious mind ever made $50 billion. But Bill Gates' spiritual mind, his emotional mind, his unconscious mind, $50 billion. Warren Gates, $50 billion. And all the extraordinary accomplishments of the human race never happened from the conscious mind, always came from the spiritual, emotional, unconscious mind. With it, we can move mountains. And you need to inspire it. You need to drop it into a place of dead, solid, perfect, where like it's coming from every fiber of your being, what's true for you. Your authentic self is where your power will come from. And we're all different there. So the way you approach this business, your style of communication, your air, your presence, your strategy, how you put it all together, what company you pick, all of that, when you have your biggest defining, life-changing moment, is when it all lines up and it's all you. Like it's all authentic. And your sideline may not like it, your upline may not like it, but you love it because it's all you. And when you quit playing this game to please everybody else and you play it just to please you and your authentic self, you'll start knocking them out of the park every time you stand up to swing. Now I want to show you a film clip that epitomizes that. It's just about 3 minutes long. And just to set it up so it doesn't blindside you, this is the movie Walk the Line. Seen it? This is the life story of Johnny Cash. I wish it would have been somebody like Elvis Presley or, Bon Jovi or Johnny Cash. Who knew? But you know what? I'm not a big Johnny Cash fan, but millions and millions and millions of people are. And there's a defining moment in this film that epitomizes the shift that you and I need to make more than anything else in the world. And it is where this drops in this film clip is he's trying to get an audition for his music. And I want you to pay attention to the chicken or champion decisions that he makes. And I want you to pay attention to the unreasonable requests and the authentic power that his coach makes. And the shift and what kind of difference it makes. Walk the line, Johnny Cash.
Excuse me, sir. You the owner of this place?
That's me.
Hello, I'm J.R. Cash.
Senator Phillips.
Well, good to meet you, Mr. Phillips. I'm a singer, and I got a band. We've been working on some songs.
Well, a kind of record song is $4.
Well, what about the guys that are on the wall in the pictures? And they pay $4?
They're on my label.
Well, how do I know?
The audition.
Right now?
Call my secretary, Marianne, when she comes back. She's at the salon. Phil sets you up an appointment next month.
Well, I can't wait that long, Mr. Phillips.
Excuse me.
I can't wait that long.
What about this one? I can iron it. John, you can't wear it now when it's black.
So what color should we all have? I thought we were black.
It looks like you're going to a funeral.
Maybe I am.
Yes, I know when Jesus saved me, saved my soul. The very moment He forgave me, He took away my heavy burdens. Lord, He gave me a peace within. Peace within. Satan can't make me doubt it. I won't doubt it. Really, I'm gonna shout it. I'm gonna shout it. Well,
Hold on.
there.
Hold on. I hate to interrupt, but you guys got something else. I'm sorry. I can't market the gospel no more.
So that's it?
I don't record material that doesn't sell, Mr. Cash, and gospel like that doesn't sell.
So there's the gospel, the way to sing.
Both.
What's wrong with the way to sing?
I don't believe you.
You're saying I don't believe in God? Yeah. Come on, let's go. No. I want to understand it, man. We come down here, we play for a minute, and he tells me I don't believe in God.
You know exactly what I'm telling you. We've already heard that song 100 times, just like that, just like how you sang it.
Well, then let us bring it home.
Bring it home. All right, let's bring it home. He was hit by a truck, and you'd line out in that gutter dying, and you had time to sing one song. Huh? One song people would remember before your dirt. One song that would let God know what you felt about your time here on earth. One song that would sum you up and telling me that's the song you'd sing. That same Jimmy Davis tune we hear on the radio all day. About your peace within and how it's real and how you're going to shout it. Or would you sing something different? Something real. Something you felt. Because I'm telling you right now, that's the kind of song people want to hear. That's the kind of song that truly saves me. It ain't got nothing to do with believing in God, Mr. Cash. It has to do with believing in yourself.
Well, I got a couple songs I wrote in the Air Force. You got anything against the Air Force? I do. You're about to play me in the earth. I hear the train coming. It's rolling round the bend. And I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train
keeps a-rolling on down to the San Antonio. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. But I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and cry. I bet there's rich folks eating in a fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know I had it coming. I know I can't be free. But those people keep a-moving, and that's what tortures me.
So I'll transition to our fireside chat by telling you a quick story. You could like go there visually. This is streets in the winter, cold, and there's a homeless man, disheveled, tired, worn. It's obvious no clean, dry place to sleep, hadn't eaten. And he was down to no money, no place to go, no food to eat, no place to sleep, down to one last possession, and that was his violin. And he'd gone a few days now without eating, and he just didn't know what to do. In that place, like the abyss, I don't know what's next. I don't know where I'm going to sleep. I don't know how I'm going to eat. Down to his last possession, his violin. So he's walking down the sidewalk and he overhears a commotion in a large, elaborate building there on the street, and a lot of people and noise and excitement. And so the doors are open and he's drawn to go in and see what's going on. And it's a big auction. And the auctioneer is auctioning off, very expensive paintings and antiques and works of art. Who will buy this painting for $50,000, $100,000? And people are raising their hand and they're spending this incredible amount of money for these artifacts. And so the old man, he's watching this process and he's looking at his violin, and he just boldly goes up to the auctioneer and he tugs on his coat. He just offers up his violin. He says, "This is all I have left. I have no money and no place to sleep. Will you sell my violin?" And the auctioneer just ignores it. Goes on to the next item. And the old man tugs on his coat again and just begs him, "Please, I have nothing to eat, no place to go. Will you sell my violin?" And finally, the auctioneer, at a break, he decides, so he grabs the violin, and it's old and tarnished, and the case is all falling apart. He holds it up, and he says, who'll give me $10, $20 for this old violin? So finally somebody in the audience, $20 for the old violin. And the old man, seeing what's happened, that's like maybe a few days, some place to stay, some place to eat, and his most prized in his last possession, he reaches up to the auctioneer and he says, before you sell my violin, could I play it one last time? The auctioneer accommodates him and hands the violin to him, and the old man puts it up and just mesmerizes the audience with the most extraordinary, spiritually moving music they had ever seen come out of a violin. He hands the violin back up to the auctioneer. The auctioneer moved, holds it now, and says, "Who'll give me 20,000? Who'll give me 30,000? Sold for $50,000. The name of that story is called "The Touch of the Master's Hand." Probably. And you know, Johnny Cash, without that defining moment, would have never been the Johnny Cash that moved millions of people. Millions of people out of having the courage to own, to believe in, to be worthy of his own individual dream. Most of us, and that's an understatement, go to our graves. Most of our parents went to their graves. Most of our grandparents went to their graves with the sweetest music still in here. This weekend for you can be a defining moment. So that from now on, you quit playing other people's games and you start playing your games. Your own authentic game. Your music. And you'll blow people out of the park with it. And this game of building the circles and attracting people, and you know, how does a Jordan Adler do it, and how does a Donna Johnson do it, and how does Lauren Woodward do it? You know what? We all come up here and sometimes spend hours with outlines and PowerPoints, and all we're trying to do to you is explain it. Because even to us, it's almost unexplainable. When you drop in to play your music, the seas part, and it's easy. So that's my request for you, is you take this weekend as your defining moment, and no more playing games. Just start hitting it out of the park. Everybody said, before you start just answering questions, would you just share some things going on? Well, I'm really here to answer some questions. And this is a high-risk format. Even Art said, I don't think that's a good idea at all. But you know what? This is an example of the true, authentic me. You know, for a lot of years in my career, what I did when it was my turn to speak is I came up and yelled and screamed and ran around and trained and told and told and told and told, and sometimes inspired and sometimes shared from the heart. But I don't remember even how it happened, but one day I did what I call a fireside chat. I didn't make up that term, but just what a fireside chat is, I sit in front of my distributor sometimes for a couple hours, and the rules of the meeting are, you can ask anything you want to ask. Anything. And I did that because as a distributor, one of the things that kept me from totally dropping in, like dead solid perfect dropping in, was just the things that were none of my business, the things that were mysterious, the things that bugged me, that I wanted to know about the company and how things worked, and you know, you're just not supposed to ask. It's none of your business. So I do a lot of these where I just talk to distributors about anything and everything they want to talk about. And sometimes it's about how to build a business, and sometimes it's, you know, why did you price that product? And distributors, I find that to be very helpful for them to get on the same team when everybody understands what the playbook is, what the objective is, and what all of the challenges are, not just their challenges. So the fireside chat that we decided to do here was, this isn't about anything I'm doing. This is about like anything you've ever wanted to ask about the industry, or what it's like, what it is about to own a company, or maybe things you wanted to ask your owner but were afraid to ask but couldn't. I'll answer for him or her. He'll love that. She'll love that. And I say it's high risk because the quality of this session totally depended on the questions you ask. So I paid Randy to, like, here's $100, Randy. You can come up here and ask an intelligent, inspiring question. So my fireside chat was a face plant. Because I told him, this is just what you need. You need something to break up the flow. This is going to be cool. This is really going to work.
All right. This is not
On.
Now it is. This is not the, as the CEO of the company question, but the CEO who's in the profession question. You were that guy on the cover of Success Magazine, the first one in our profession. You were the guy, you were around when MLM Success started, which morphed into Upline. And later, now we've got this networking times. Where's the, which, you know, I love what they can do for our profession if we can do for them. Can you talk about that maybe, about how we can help them help us, and how important that magazine could be to every person in this room?
Yeah, I can speak to it. I'll start by saying this, and Chris and Josephine have carried the torch with Networking Times for many years, and their predecessor, I think they will acknowledge to some degree, it was a magazine or a newsletter called Upline, and or MLM Success, I think it was originally called. And John Fogg created that magazine and that effort. And out of the Upline magazine came the Upline Masters seminars. And the Upline Masters seminars was, to my knowledge, I'm sure there might have been others in the history of the industry, but to my knowledge, the first time a half a dozen competitors, top sales leaders from competitive companies, ever came together and offered a generic event for any distributor in any company to attend. And I was a presenter in those, and they went on for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. Some of you have attended them. But that is, to my knowledge, the first time in the history of our industry, in the 50-year history of our industry, that any leadership ever came together and said, hey, you know what? Let's quit trying to take each other out. And let's just build our companies, and let's support each other. And that doesn't mean we can't compete. It doesn't mean we can't say, hey, our product is better if we feel it's better. But, you know, what we found by doing that was when people like, you know, Tom Schreiber and I, Randy Gage and I, and, you know, Sandy Ellsberg and Mark Yarnell and Tim Sales, and, you know, when we got together as friends and trained in this environment like that, we never rolled each other under the bus after that. We never said, oh, you don't want to be in that Schreiber company. We never did that. Why? Because those were friends of ours. That's where the unity in this industry started. And Chris and Josephine carry that torch, and Art Jonak carries that torch. Networking Times is about sales leaders coming together and offering the best of the best. Here's what's working for us. It's a place to bring unity to this industry. And you all need to be subscribers, and you need to be promoting it. There's phenomenal content. I could go on and on. I won't speak to like how great articles are. They obviously are great, but here's just what you need to think about. One of the problems we have as an industry is there's not enough responsibility, profession, not enough responsibility on the individual's part to better the profession, to better the image of what we're doing, to take some personal responsibility for, hey, let's move the needle on how the public sees us. I mean, you know what? If 9 out of 10 people that you went out and talked to about your opportunity in the next year said, oh, that's network marketing. Wealth building through network marketing, community building, personal development through network marketing, that phenomenal concept? Tell me how you do it. How much more money could you make? Now, I know we've made some great gains versus, people saying, well, it's a pyramid scheme, it doesn't work. We've made some great gains, but most of the people that you talk to are not enthralled with this concept. They don't even understand it. And the only way we're going to move the needle there is come together, make very wise choices about what companies and what products we promote and how we promote them. And anytime there is anyone in this industry who is staking their profession and their livelihood and their career on a product or a service or a concept that's bringing it together, we have a responsibility as a professional in this profession to own that. Be told part of it. It's part of the package. You don't have a choice to be a subscriber and promote that magazine. You have to, or you're in the wrong profession. Carol?
Richard, can you talk something about how you created the culture of vision and leadership for your company and things that any of us might do to emulate that?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that the culture that I've always tried to create is that there is nothing, a concept, nothing more compelling to me than authenticity. I can spend an entire day on the process of becoming authentic. And something very, very powerful happens when you and I move the needle from being inauthentic, if you will, pretending, playing somebody else's game to playing your own game. And one of the obvious things that happens there is, when you're talking and working with people about what motivates them, the paradigm in our industry is, well, you need to be a mucky-muck director, and you need to get to this pin position, by this time frame, and you need to win this contest, and you need to buy this car, get this house, and I'm generalizing for sure, but the paradigm historically in our industry is motivate people with whatever the company offers as the motivating enticements, comp plan, toys, whatever. And the first shift that I make there is I pay very little attention to that kind of stuff in working with people, and what I'm interested in is what motivates you. And that's very often not pin level, and it's very often not winning a contest, and it's very often not money. And sometimes it is. And so I just like to guide the conversation and teach people, teach the coaches, teach the upline. Look, these aren't robots. Everybody here has a different want, different need, different passion. Find out what it is, and coach them to come to own and pursue and be passionate about that, and avoid manipulating them with all the trickery of the comp plan and the incentives, and not that we don't do that stuff, we just don't take it very seriously. And then, you know, we spend a lot of time on it. I do 1-day vision and self-motivation workshops, 3 days and 7 days. 7 days with 12 people. You can do this. I'm not telling you because I want you to come to one of mine. I don't. You can do your own. I just started doing them. You can start doing them. You spend 7 days with 12 people, and half the time you're just drilling in talking about them, who they are, what makes them tick, what they want, what they're afraid of, how they're put together. You spend the other half of the time leading them to do exciting, adventuresome, fun things that they've never done before. And 7 days later, you have a transformed relationship, human being on your hands, and it's one of the greatest gifts you can ever do. So I spend time, attention, and it's personalized. It's not rote. Jordan.
I couldn't be jumping. I just want to thank you. Not knowing what you were doing at the time, that truly was one of the, it probably was the defining moment that led to me being here. And I just want to thank you for sharing your words of wisdom with people along the journey. And you know, I just want to thank you. But also I have a question. In sharing when we're talking with a room full of guests in a public forum like a hotel meeting and things like that, and we're sharing our accomplishments or dreams come true, what, according to the way the attorney generals look at things and the regulators, what can't we say from a platform setting so that we stay clean and don't get ourselves in trouble?
Well, I mean, there's the letter of the law, and then there's what you said. What can you say? What may you say? What's legal to say? You know, I'm going to take that question, Jordan, as a broader thing. One of the things that is holding us back as an industry is it's not just sales leaders, it's companies that instigate it, it's companies that tolerate it. It's sales leaders in a profession like us, and as a professional, you don't even know the law. I mean, that just doesn't work. And if you do know the law, you ignore it. So, you know, one of the most common is, you know, people like to talk about how much money they make. And I know it's totally unfair, but in many states of the United States, you cannot talk about how much money you make in your company. It's illegal. Now, will they ever see you do it or catch you do it? Probably not, but in the age of the internet, they will. And what we do is what our people do. So, you know, you just have to be careful there about income claims. And I'm just going to speak to, like, the substance of it. It's not so bad that you would say, you know, I made, you know, whatever, $25,000 last month. I mean, in the state of Arkansas, they'll actually throw you in jail if they hear you say that. If you make a photocopy of your check in the state of Arkansas and you use it to recruit somebody, they're obligated to throw you in jail. It's against the law in the state of Arkansas. And there's variations of it in every state in the country, which leads me to a point. One of the things that's true about the United States is there are no federal regulations regulating our profession. There are only 50 different versions of states' regulations. And there's all kinds of different versions. So when we say what's legal and what's not legal, how we tend to express that is, well, generally, here's how you're going to stay out of trouble in most of the states if you do this. So, you know, in Arkansas, you can't even say how much money you make. But in some states, you can probably get away with it. Here's where it's really a problem, is when on the internet or in your brochure or even in your one-on-ones, you say in the spirit of, I make $25,000 a month, you can make $25,000 a month too, and all you need to do is buy this $300 package, and you're gonna make $25,000 a month. Or, you know, 4 who get 4 who get 4, or 2 run the binary down, blah, blah, and you're gonna make $25,000 a month. If you're not responsible enough to add to that, how much work it's gonna take, how much money it's gonna take to invest. And you know what? You can actually spin it to an upside, and it's a kind of a great takeaway. The odds are you'll never pull it off. I did. I think you can, but the odds are against you. You want to play or not? I actually like that. Here's the place I see the biggest abuse, is if you're playing the game of making therapeutic claims, disease cure claims for your product, you're likely to get nailed quicker than anything else. And here's the difference. If an attorney general in a state doesn't like what you're doing around income claims, there's due process. If the FDA does not like what you're doing around therapeutic and disease claims, very little due process. Like, you're done. Kind of like the IRS. Like that. You familiar with how that works? IRS thinks you have defrauded them. Thinks you're not stepping up. What do? They freeze all your accounts. Now let's talk. That's how due process works with the IRS. The FDA, same thing. I personally had the experience of having the FDA, this sort of little frumpy lady, about 5 foot high, walk into my corporate office in a previous company. It was actually the fuel additive company, and we started selling a nutritional product. We had no idea what we were doing. They got all kinds of claims. She walked into my office, sold 5 foot lady in a white coat, like a smock thing, with a clipboard. And she said, I'm from the FDA, she had a badge, can you show me to your warehouse? I'm an accommodating guy. Right out here. Can you show me the honeybee pollen products that you're selling? Oh, please, that's right over here. We're throwing the crap out of them. This actually happened. She had a little aide with her. He had these red tags. She signed these red tags, and he stapled them to the pallets in the warehouse. Once the red tag is on the pallet, it is a federal offense to sell that product. Like criminal, like go to jail. Therapeutic claims. You know how they do it today, the FDA? They don't send people out, they don't bother with that. They just call the local paper. They just drop a dime on you. They just file a lawsuit, file an investigative claim, drop a dime to the local media, and you're done. Stick a fork in the pyramid scheme, but it's all over. Quit making therapeutic disease cure claims, even by association. You think you're cute, you know, all this book says it. If you use the book, if you use the magazine article, if you use the website reference, like channel it, you're breaking the law. You're putting your company and every other distributor in your company in jeopardy. How many of you have never had your deal go out from under you? Raise your hand high. So how many of you have? Will that sick feeling ever leave your body? No. It's not worth it. Do it right. And you know what? Here's the toughest part about doing it right. The people that do it wrong are going to kick your ass. In terms of competing. They are going to roll right over you. They've been rolling right over us for 25 years. You know, you just got to choose who you want to be for the profession. You either want to be somebody that builds a profession, creates an honorable profession, shifts the paradigm. Just shifts the paradigm for the public. That's one of the visions that I've been holding on to for 25, 30 years, is the public really understands what we do. They get it, that this is the best wealth building strategy on the planet. This trumps real estate and equities 100 to 1. There is nothing like building wealth building through residual income. But you have no residual income unless your company's in business for 50 years. And to make that happen, you got to do it right. And we're never going to shift the paradigm of the public unless we're honorable and we do it right. And that means you got to allow people to kick your butt, because they will, doing it wrong. Is that enough grandstanding on that?
First of all, I want to thank you for in this business. Often more than the corporate executives that run the companies, maybe aside from the president or the owner. And I often wonder how they feel if they resent the $50,000 to $100,000 a month that many top leaders make.
Yes.
I thought so. Can you talk about that a little bit? Anything you can share? Or is there nothing to share?
No, I mean, that's a very insightful question, and you've all got very talented, critical people on your corporate team, like VP level, department head level. I mean, you got to have their total support and their competency, and they got to be totally on your team, right? And you know, you're making $40,000 a month, and they're making $4,000 a month. It's not easy for them. It's not easy for them. Here's where I see it the toughest. They work like crazy to support you in building your dreams, and then they see the attitude of gratitude leave the building. When people that are making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month earned it rightfully, no question. But one of the most powerful things you can keep in your body, in your space, in your spirit, is gratitude. So, you know, you may have earned every penny of it, but you wouldn't have earned a nickel of it in that company unless a lot of other people did some very powerful things, and some of them you want to remember make $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Some of them very high profile, like vice presidents, they make 10, 20 grand a month. And you know the worst part is, they can be fired like that. Just like that, they're done. So I would just encourage you to be sensitive to that. I don't feel like resentment in an ugly, destructive way is pervasive and a problem at all in our industry. And it's a very insightful question, and you would be well served to have a grand appreciation for how much money you earn and how much money you can earn relative to the people who are critical to supporting you and pulling that off. And next time you whine and complain about some kind of change or some kind of pullback or some kind of policy or some kind of whatever that wasn't perfect for you because you're the big dog leader, just remember the people who need to make it perfect for you, they're not on that train. And yes, they're responsible for that decision. But keep this in mind. If everybody does what we're doing, there is no one to serve us breakfast. No one to wash our car, no one to clean our house, no one to process our checks or whatever else they're doing. So embrace the step.
Richard, Warren Lance here from Canada. I have a buddy that's been in the industry probably 18 years, worked his butt off, did all right, six-figure income. He's been out of the industry for probably 8 years, and we're doing a song and dance, and it's almost as if he's afraid, he's questioning, can he do it again?
Yeah.
I know he can do it again, it's in him. Like there's a passion, there's a fire, but there's like this anchor holding him back. Is there any suggestions of what I can say, how I can encourage him? Because like he has it, but he's just, it's like he's afraid.
Yeah, he's tougher than a new prospect because what he's added to his vision currently is how much work it is, I'll go put it all in, all on the line again, I'll run all over the country, I'll spend all those hours, I'll spend all that money, and people will quit again, the company will go out of business, it won't work, that's his vision. So when you say he's stuck, he's actually not stuck, he's actually motivated, highly motivated, very spiritually, emotionally, and consciously motivated to stay the heck out of network marketing. And he has a very powerful vision about it. He might as well have wrote it all out and got a bunch of pictures to support it and plastered it all over his house, because that's his vision. So what you can do is, I've asked this question to tens of thousands of people who are stuck in the business. When people are stuck, like they got in, they were excited, they did some stuff, and now they're plateaued or they're stuck, all that's happened is that initial on-fire enthusiasm vision they had about, I can do this, it just went away, and it got replaced with I can. It's just a new vision. It's a simple question to ask. What's his name?
Dawn.
Dawn? Tell me, I'm just curious. Phrase, I'm just curious. You preface what you want to ask somebody with, I'm just curious. You can ask them anything you want.
It's a Tom Schreiber clue, huh?
It might be. I learned a great deal from Tom Schreiber. Yeah. I'm just curious, how's your sex life? For some reason, people will just tell you. I don't know. Just takes all the threat away from it. I'm just curious. Don, I'm just curious, Don. Would you just tell me, what company was he in before, by the way?
Amway.
Don, I'm just curious. Would you tell me what compelled you to get involved in Amway to begin with? It's storytelling. That's just asking somebody to tell you, what was the vision that got you in the business to begin with? People will remember. And here's the magic that happens. You and I cannot speak. We can't tell a story. We can't speak, articulate a picture, a movie, without being moved by it, if the components are moving to us. So if it moved him into the business to begin with, the components of it move him. So if you say, hey, Don, I'm just curious, tell me why you got involved in Amway to begin with. What was it that you saw? These are all like the real simple common terms for vision. And he'll say, well, I saw the possibility of getting out of my job. I saw the possibility of making a lot of money. He cannot speak those words without changing his physiology. Right there in that moment. His body chemistry changes, his hormonal balance changes, everything in that human being speaking that from the 30 seconds before. Like, just imagine Dawn, before you ask the question, Dawn over here, the physiology, the aura, if you will, and all the energy, everything going on with Dawn before you ask the question is, I'm never getting back to network marketing again. That's a certain body chemistry, it's a certain electromagnetic charge, it's a certain enthusiasm, it's a certain energy that causes him to act or not act or stay stuck. So just imagine that body chemistry. Now you ask him, Don, I'm just curious, what compelled you to get involved in the business to begin with? What did you see? You ask him the question, he goes, I saw the possibility of making a lot of money. He can't say those words without changing his body chemistry. Without feeding the elephant, without having something rise up in him and change. How much money? Well, like I made, a couple $100,000 a year. Well, why was that important to you to make that kind of money? Well, I wanted to get out of debt. Tell me about getting out of debt. Like, what did that look like? Why was that important to you? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Any question you ask, the answer to which paints a new component of the picture, more clarity, more features, more benefits, expands the horizon. And in that moment, you can actually allow Dawn to paint a new vision. Just put him right back in the same state, if you will, the state he was in which he joined in the first place. You can't do it with logic. You can't do it with rationale. You can't do it with mathematics. You can only do it by allowing him to feel for a moment. Like you could spend 20 minutes on that, and you could say, Don, I'm just curious. The last 20 minutes, when we're talking about the dream again, how'd that feel? And there's going to be a smile on Don's face, and he's going to say, you know what? That felt good.
Magic stuff. Thank you.
Richard, I'm just curious. I am relatively new to the profession and not full-time. I have a full-time job and then I work this into work whenever I can. I love it. I understand the importance of investing in yourself and all the money that I make with my network marketing business. I put back into tools and go into every single event I can and all that. And I try and help my team members also do this, and where they can't or won't, I find myself investing in them as well because I'd rather help in this whole belief process until they're ready to do it themselves. But obviously that doesn't scale. Is there any tips or tricks or experience that as new network marketers are getting to that point where they believe and they see the importance of investing in their business and in themselves and in their growth, to help them, encourage them to make that move? I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not sure. Do you mean help them, like give them stuff, pay stuff for them, loan them money, or do you mean help them, like encourage them?
Well, so let me rephrase the question. I spend all the money that I make on my business back on tools and going to events and all that. And some people, I think it was mentioned earlier today about, hey, I got in this to make money, not spend money, but there's a huge importance there in investing in yourself. Is there any way that, any tips that you can offer to help people along that belief journey to where they just naturally see that, to encourage them to invest in themselves and invest in tools and invest in going to the events and so forth? In other words, the importance of...
I got it. You're not going to like the answer. I might call it a Warren Woodward answer. There's the best place for you to influence, help them, move them along, is for you to move along powerfully and even be willing to let them go. The best thing that you can do to inspire people, move people, get their attention, like shift how they see things, is for you to shift. Yeah. For all of a sudden for them to see, what the hell is he doing? What? What's that all? What's going on there? Like get their attention that way. Telling people what to do and why they should do it doesn't work very well. You, having seen the lights, being inspired, going the path, just run full speed down the path and encourage people to come with you. Do not wait for them. I don't know, there's probably the top 20 things that have killed the huge dreams of networkers in the last 50 years. One of them is certainly waiting for people. Waiting for people to get around to it. And, in the process of that, you just start yourself. So, if you have helping, caretaking, contribution as one of your really high core values, you're going to be just thrown to every time there's somebody that needs saved, every time somebody needs to be given something, you're going to be right there going, let me help you. And you just starve yourself to death doing that. What you need to do is take care of you, run down the path you need to run on, inspire people, encourage them to go with you. Do not wait for them, and make, at every opportunity, stand right there, look them in the eye, and make an unreasonable request for them to step up. And you keep doing that over and over again. The ones that are destined, if you will, to be players here, they will eventually step up. Take care of you. Mr. Right Governor. Yeah,